And welcome back to part 2 of what's probably going to be a pretty long one of what if Minato Uzumaki survived. Well, not Minato Uzumaki. What if Minato Namikaze survived part 2? Now, a couple house cleaning questions to address real quick. Did Minato seal all of the QB in Naruto, or did he seal half of it? I felt it was pretty self-explanatory that he only sealed half of the Nine Tails in him, because Saratobi's the one who actually did the seal. And Minato probably asked him to do that. So yes, Naruto still only has the half of the Nine Tails he had in him originally. Two, someone brought up, wouldn't Kushina survive because of her vitality, as it was Uzumaki? She survived the extraction process. Even Naruto survived the near extraction process when it happened. But or I can't remember exactly what happened during the Ninja War, whenever that happened. Anyway, yeah, Kushina survived the extraction process, but she was extremely weak, and it's implied she probably wouldn't have survived. She wouldn't have survived long term. Plus, I do think this is a scenario where she might have still ended up, sacrificing herself, getting the cloth or the gut and all that. But either way, no, Kushina's not around. Besides, that's not the what if we have here. I mean, someone brought up, well, Kushina survived in the other what if she did. That's because the other what if I did wasn't Minato surviving. It was the Uzumaki surviving. Because the Uzumaki were around, Minato also lived. So you gotta understand context and understand the difference. Did Obito still have the seal on him? Yes, he did. People actually were discussing that in the comments and brought up the fact that Minato hit him with the Rasengan, then slapped the seal on him. So yeah, he still had the seal on him. I'm trying to think, was there any other question that needed addressing? Oh yeah, one other thing. The Orochimaru timeline thing. So, I can't remember who, and I don't usually bring up names for these things, but they brought up conflicting information that on their own. It's like they said in the original canon, it was prior, but during the light novels, it was after the third became Hokage again. So, I understand that, but that's the problem with the light novels is, depending on the series you're reading, it can be contradictory. So for what it's worth, I'm going to go with the one I went with first, where it was prior. Because again, that just makes sense. None of the three were in the village at the time. Now that we're about 3 minutes in, let's continue. And I'm going to have to address a couple things here. Let's get into it. So this is after the fact. Minato is now a single dad. He's just doing the best he can with Naruto. And we cut basically now to a year prior to Naruto entering the academy. We have a young Naruto walking around the village. It's just kind of saying, hi, everyone. Oh, honorable son, honorable son. It's like, oh, hey. And, but you get a couple people like the ramen guy who actually call him Ichiraku. Sucked in a little too much air. Almost like had a bad burp come up. Who, like Ichiraku, Tenchi, who refer to him as Naruto, like when they go there. And I think Naruto at first didn't think anything of it, but kind of like Konohamaru, he gets a little sick of the honorable son thing and just kind of wants to be seen as Naruto. Meanwhile, his escort just say, oh, it's same as usual, huh, Naruto? Yeah, Uncle Kakashi. Now, because Minato is the Hokage, he definitely has some benefits here, some fringe benefits in terms of how to raise Naruto. And obviously, Kakashi would still be willing to help. He's got Minato still there, so he's at least got that under his belt in terms of keeping him mentally or emotionally stable for a little bit. Or at least a bit more emotionally stable than he is in the original series. Or not emotionally stable, but not as depressed. I think that's the way to put it. Kakashi kind of masks depression with that very bubbly kind of, friendly guise. But make no mistake, what Kakashi was displaying was certainly depression. When you've lost, almost certainly your mother. We never actually hear anything about his mother, but we can almost assume she's dead. His mother, his father, 2 of his best friends, and his teacher, plus, a few friends he's probably made along the way. Oh yeah. The guy was probably depressed. Anywho, But Kakashi here, he actually has a bit more of a new lease on life because he gets to help raise Naruto. And he's seen as a kind of an uncle / big brother figure to Naruto, which is great. Meanwhile, the fourth is busy just dealing with what he's dealing with. Luckily Kakashi keeps one of his kunai with him just in case. 1 second, I'm getting something up right now. So now Kakashi obviously can't always babysit Naruto and has not always been able to babysit Naruto. What he does have though, sorry, his let's see. Minato was placed in charge of Rin, Obito. Nope, that's not what I want. I want his official guard. He taught the flight to the Hokage guard platoon. Hold on. There we go. Which consisted of Raito, Genma, and Ishiwari. So, because those are his royal guard, they probably also know Naruto pretty well. And as I'm saying this right now, I'm learning all of his abilities. Let's see, Raito. Raito apparently had a kenjutsu, and he had but it was skilled in kenjutsu, and when he attacked when he attacked Kakuzu, when he attacked Kakuzu, he attacked with an ebony blade, which was a bleed, which is also apparently which was coated in poison. Basically, that's why it was darkened. There is nothing else known about this guy, however, like in terms of like chakra nature, whatever. Genma apparently at least has a bit more under his belt, which is interesting. He apparently was skilled enough to assist in fighting two second stage curse sealed individuals. But again, there's not much else that he has under his belt that is known. So in terms of what I can offer these guys to teach Naruto, at the moment it seems very, very minimal. And then there was Ishiwari Tatami, who again does not have a lot going for him except for the fact he was part of the Hokage guard. But the only one, if I wanted to have them impart any wisdom on a Naruto, was freaking Raito. So yeah, basically there's a rotation of people helping him. Naruto is alone sometimes, but thanks to Flying Thunder God, Minato or someone can just show up when needed. One of the things, though, that needs to be addressed, and again, I can never remember when the damn Uchiha massacre happened. Was it prior to Sasuke Uchiha, hold on. Was it prior to Sasuke joining the academy, or was it post Sasuke joining the academy? My mind always goes to post, but I'm checking that right now for context. Entering the ad, I hate ads. Entering the Ninja Academy. Okay, yeah. On entering the Ninja Academy. Okay, at least according to this, it is after the fact. So, because it's a year, the Uchiha massacre has not happened yet. If it will happen, we will address that in this particular version. So at one point, Naruto is looking around, and Naruto isn't stupid because he is the Hokage's son, admittedly. He's never book smart. Like, you've never book smart. I don't even think that doesn't matter unless you change the what if to him being intelligent like book smart. He's never going to be a scholar in terms of his intelligence. So he's never going to be that intelligent, but we know Naruto's actually very clever. And very, very smart in his own right. So I do believe he can do well in class, but he's also very observant. And I don't think he'd be oblivious to the fact that basically what it is that half the village particularly like the ninja half, they just see Naruto as Naruto. Granted, they still use a bit of the honorable son, and it's like, Naruto told us, like, could you not do that? After a while, he's like, he realized he didn't like the feel of it. Whereas others are more like, now, like, hey, honorable son. It's more like, oh, honorable son. Naruto, however, isn't, like I said, stupid. He can see the contempt and the fakeness behind it. Like, they're being nice because this is the Hokage's kid. I'm sure there was moments where people gave Naruto looks, and Minato shut their ass up with a very parental Hokage, I will gut you like a fish look. And like, ah! And eventually it gets to the point where Minato comes home from work one day and is like, oh, Naruto, hey, son, how you doing? Been a fun day? It's early. I can still make, getting ready to make some dinner. And he just sees Naruto kind of sitting there just like, Naruto, are you okay? It's like, Dad, why? Why do some of the villagers hate me so much? To which Minato's a little shocked because, he knew about it. He had made it a law not to talk about it, just like the third did. But he knew about it. I don't think it would have been as bad. Like, Minato does want to embrace some of it, so I think, the Shinobi Council certainly knew in this case. The civilians, he all knew, though, might react badly. But unfortunately, obviously, word gets out regardless. Like, he made it a law. The third made it a law. And yet it still got out. So either way, it was going to be known. And just as Minato predicted, it didn't go over so well with the civilians, because civilians, when it comes to ninja arts, are not necessarily the most intelligent. But at the same time, it's Minato, and they know for a fact this isn't like Naruto in the original, where he's just some random kid they can just kind of yell at and just treat like crap. No, this is the Hokage's kid. They gotta put on the fake bullshit grin smile and just be like, oh God, I hate this brat. The fox. I can't believe he lets the fox. He's taking care of the fox. Like, this might even jade their opinion on the Hokage a little bit, honestly. Again, the civilians probably are just not most likely as aware about the ninja arts as, say, the ninja are. And Minato knew this day would come where he'd have to actually tell Naruto. And he never intended to keep it a secret. He intended to tell him at least when he was entered the academy. So at least in a couple of years. But here he sees Naruto just feeling dejected and just hurt. And Minato's just finally just like, I knew this day would come. And he just sits down and he's like, and he doesn't even sit down. He looks at the little shrine they have for their mom. Because I'm 100% convinced, he would not hide Kushina from Naruto. He wants Kushina to be a part of his life in some way, because that was his mother, and that was the woman he loved. And Minato looks at the little shrine with the picture, and he goes, "What do you know? What have I actually told you about the day your mother died, Naruto?" It's like, well, you didn't really tell me much. Just she died protecting me from the Nine Tails. There's a bit more than that, and so you could kill it. Say that's not entirely true. That's not entirely true. It's true. She protected you from the Nine Tails, and the third gave his life to protect the village, and I assisted. But you can't actually kill a tailed beast, son. They're massive beasts composed of more chakra than most humans will ever be able to obtain, and which is actually true. I mean, majority of when you actually look at the people in Naruto who actually had chakra greater than a tail beast's. It's far and few between when you look at the grand scheme of tail beasts, or grand scheme of humans. Madara certainly had chakra comparable to a tail beast. That didn't mean he actually had more chakra than a tail beast, by the way. And this isn't like Bleach, where higher Ryatsu can overpower the technique of someone with lower Ryatsu. That's not quite the way that works in Naruto. It's just having higher reserves to do more shit. Like the first Hokage, definitely. Kasame is noted for having the chakra of a tail beast. So yeah, I mean, and I could probably name more, but it would be like 10 characters out of a roster of over 100. So yeah, and that's the characters we know about, not including everyone else in the world. But because you can't, they're messed. So the third Almighty had to seal it away with a special jutsu. And Minato's just like seal away. Unfortunately, and I couldn't just have. The idea was to seal away in a person, but unfortunately, only a newborn would have been able to. I can't remember exactly what the reason was exactly, like the logic behind it. I know it had to do with that he wasn't going to ask someone to sacrifice their own kid, but a newborn was perfect. Like I think it's because they had a fresh chakra network, something along those lines. Anyway, and he looks over his son with just regret in sorrow and sadness. And I was like, you were the child I was stealing. You are the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox. And Naruto's just like, his eyes widen. He's like, why would you do that to me? So, because I had to protect the village, Naruto, but I also wanted to be sure you'd be protected. Protect me from what? The only reason, he just starts crying. The only reason I'm protected is because I'm the son of the Hokage. If it wasn't for that, I'd probably be out in the street treated like trash, probably beaten her. Like, but you're not. You're safe. You're safe. Like, is that the point? You ruined my life. You steal the monster. I'm a monster. Like, you're not a monster. You're my son. And it's like, you don't know that. It's like, and to which Minato's like, I'm the one person in the world who knows that better than anyone, that you're my son, not a monster, not the fox, nothing. And nothing beyond your Jinchuriki. You are a container for the Nine-Tailed Fox, but you're not the Nine-Tailed Fox. And Naruto's calming down a little bit. It's like, you can't, how do you know? And to which Minato, and I read this in a fanfic at one point, and it was a great little analogy. It's like, and Minato, he frowns and he's upset, but at the same time, he actually puts a little bit of a smirk. It's like, look, and then just takes out one of his kunai. He's like, see this kunai, Naruto? Yeah, I see it. And he just puts it in a scroll, and he just, just hits that. What? Dad, what'd you do that for? It's like, well, sorry, I hit you with that kunai. No, you hit me with a scroll. It's like, no, I hit you with the kunai. No, you just sealed the scroll in the kunai. Just seal the kunai in the scroll. You didn't hit me with the kunai. It's inside and then Naruto goes like, that's right. Just because something is sealed inside a container doesn't make the container the sealed item. You are Naruto. You are my son. You are and by the way, Naruto's full name of this, in honor of his mother, is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. His last name is Namikaze in this version. In fact, I think it was in the Uzumaki one I did too. I can't remember. Did I go Uzumaki or did you go Namikaze? Anyway, he's still part of the Uzumaki clan. Anyway, so Naruto finally is able to kind of calm down a little bit and just finally just kind of accept that. Which at 6 years, I think Naruto's around 6 at this point. Actually, what year did they go into the academy? I've always heard some slightly varying sources, either 9 or 7, whatever. Like I said, this is probably a year prior to the academy. For the sake of argument, seeing as they graduated at 12, we'll treat it like a basic academy. Let's say they go in for like 8 years. So Naruto is 7 here. And that's the story that I'm sticking with. Anywho. So Naruto, for an 8-year-old or 7-year-old, is actually surprisingly mature about this and is able to process it. But Dad's like, you're my son no matter what, and I'm gonna love you no matter what. And besides, you're not alone, and you're not alone. You've made some friends along the way. And it's like, well, Kakashi and your guards are nice guys, and there's a couple of kids around the area that nice. What about that nice Hyuga girl you met that time? It's like, well, yeah. And actually, I mean, if I'm thinking on that real quick, he actually probably saved Hinata during the academy because he knew, at least he tried to learn the clone jutsu. But I guess in this case, that's the other thing I wanted to bring up, because I got to bring up the Uchiha massacre and one other thing. But we can make an argument to say he met Hinata earlier, because one of the things Minato has been probably stressing with Naruto, knowing A, that he already has huge reserves, and B, the Nine-Tailed Fox's chakra is going to be integrated in his chakra control. But he has not taught him any true jutsu yet, except he tried the clone jutsu. I think that, I've now made that work in my head. He taught him the clone jutsu as like a starter jutsu early, but even with the chakra control training, exercises and everything, it's just, he can't get it down. It doesn't make quite as sick a clone as he does in the original, but it's definitely a clone that doesn't work. So Naruto, yeah, because of Minato has been stressing chakra control. He already got the tree walking down. I have no doubt about that. I think he can even walk on water at this point. But so he has massive control for someone his age, and probably better control well beyond what Naruto has in the original series while he is a Genin. But he is not ever going to have like masterful control, Sally, just because his chakra control, his chakra reserves are always going to be growing because of the Nine Tails. But he mentioned the nice Hyuga girl, and that would probably cut to a brief flashback of him saving Hinata from the bullies. And unlike the original where Naruto actually just got his ass kicked, one of the other few things that Naruto does stress on is training with Kakashi and his dad when he gets a chance, and actually having fairly competent taijutsu. While he's not a Rock Lee by any stretch of the means, he's probably more competent even than someone like Sasuke, who at that time is overcompensating to try to impress his brother. If you really think about it, he's a kid, he's trying to rush into things, he's overcompensating to try to impress his brother and impress his dad. He's probably actually the most competent hand-to-hand combat because he does have Minato there, who, as far as you can tell, was an extremely capable hand-to-hand fighter. I mean, he's also had special kunai that he used in combat, but between his speed and everything, Minato was most likely a beast. So when that happens, he actually beats the crap out of them really quick. And, he's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "I'm fine." It's like, yeah. And then her caretaker, her caregiver, her attendant, whatever you want to call it, caught up with her. And unlike before, where it's like, "No, just leave that boy alone," he knows who Naruto is. Like, Honorable Son's like, "Oh, please just call me Naruto." "Oh, Naruto. Oh, what happens here?" And he explains that these bullies are picking on, and he actually is Lady Hinata. "Oh, your name's Hinata. That's a nice name." He was picking on Hinata, and he stepped in. It's like, and Naruto's like, "Now get going." I can see that the Hokage Hyuga attendant, "Get going right now before I tell your parents." All right. Well, thank you. Say goodbye, Hinata. We have to go. It's like, bye. And that's where Hinata's crust still starts. It all works out. Minato does explain how the way the seal works, the Nine-Tailed Fox's chakra is going to be merging within Naruto, increasing his reserves. That's why chakra control has been so important. Don't worry, we'll be teaching you some other stuff once you get into the academy for right now. By the way, because we know that a decade's about to pass for Minato, which is going to put him in his 30s. This is probably going to put him basically in his prime as Shinobi. And that means I get to play a little bit with Minato in terms of what he actually has available under his jutsu belt. But two things we need to address right now. And they're both things I got addressed in the Hyuga and the Uzumaki video. And I kind of just made my argument for why they might not have happened or why they may have happened still. But given the fact that, this is a different series and I have time to think about that a little bit more. First off, the Hinata getting kidnapped scenario. Does that happen? Because that Cloud Ninja was doing it on the orders of the Raikage, and everyone basically admits that A had a lot of respect for Minato. He wasn't, so it's not, of course, we assume he had to have at least some respect for the third, and yet he was still willing to do that. Just because you have respect for someone, this is the reason I justify it still happening. Just because you have respect for someone doesn't mean you still wouldn't go behind their back or still do something. Respect only goes so far. Because if you're to assume that he had no respect for the third at all, that's making an assumption based on information you just don't have. And you got to be careful about that. The third Hokage was, considered the professor. He was considered a god among shinobi. Like, his reputation went far and wide. You have to assume that A knew who he was, probably would not have still wanted to go in direct confrontation with him if he had to. So you have to assume that despite all that, he still would have done it. And even though he admits he had respect for his father, the thirst for more bloodlines in the Cloud Village, which when you really break it down, we only ever saw like one bloodline, the Storm Release, which was a cool bloodline, by the way. Can't wait to do a Storm Release video. I was thinking about this earlier yesterday when I was thinking about the story, and I'm like, would it happen? At first, I'm like, maybe he would, because he did respect Minato enough. But I had to assume he had some level of respect for the third, and he still ended up going through with it. So, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Sorry, thought I heard a vehicle pulling in. So I'm gonna go with yeah. Despite it all, it still happens. Now, Minato. That being said, it does change a little bit there, where Minato basically confronts A. I think Minato, again, Flying Thunder God is a broken technique. I think it's not too hard for him to basically just send a package. He sends like a ball that has the Flying Thunder God seal on him, and he just appears in front of it. And he's like, and Minato just kind of look like, Minato, Lord Okage. Yeah, I was. You've got a lot of nerve showing up here. To which Minato's not even breaking his. All right. And he finds like a mistake. All right, I admit it. Look, what do you want from me? Our village suffers. Every village has so many bloodlines. So hell, the freaking Mist had so many. They decided to they were afraid and decided to purge the lot. Which, by the way, I still think the bloodline purge still happens. By the way, people were arguing if because Obi's gone or Obito's gone that the Mist purge doesn't happen. I disagree. I don't think the blood Mist purge had anything to do with, or the bloodline purge had anything to do with Obito, quite frankly. Yeah, he was manipulating Yagura, but that doesn't mean that he actually had anything to do with it. I get the impression, actually, that that he most likely that was something that was happening in the village anyway. Because, frankly, there's no logical reason for Obito to want to do that. Like, because it doesn't make any... There's no real reason Obito would want to be doing that. Like, was he getting rid of threats? I guess? But at that point, Obito couldn't really be hurt by anyone. The only people capable of really hurting him were gone at that point, like Minato. So, I don't know. Plus, I mean, they didn't get rid of all the bloodlines. There was still an ice release user. Obviously, Mei, he has 2 different Kekkei Genkais. There is the Suigetsu line, bloodline, which liquefaction technique. So there were still bloodlines around. Hell, there was still, Kimimaro was the last dead bone pulse user, but they actually ended up killing themselves, not everyone everyone wiping themselves out, or everyone wiping them out. So, yes, long story short, I do think the whole attempt at Hinata happens, but I think Minato actually confronts A and gives him a stern freaking warning. Like, out of respect that I thought you had for me, I'm going to be, like, and I think he actually throws that in his face, like, if I remember correctly, we have mutual respect for each other, A. So, out of the respect I still have for you, I'm going to leave you the warning. You try that again, and it's not going to end well. One of us isn't walking away, and then he just disappears. And before he disappears, like, you can keep the ball. Because like he knows they're not going to be able to transcribe that thing. Oh god, I went longer than I needed to. Last but not least, the Uchiha massacre. Okay, so the Uchiha massacre, is that going to happen? From what and I don't like using the anime very much, because the anime technically isn't canon. Like, anything you see in the anime that's not in the manga is technically not canon, but that doesn't mean it can't be added to the canon and make sense. And one of the things we know is that apparently the Uchiha massacre happened because the Uchihas were going to stage a coup d'etat. And they were going to do that using Naruto and using the Nine-Tailed Fox. Apparently, Fugatsu had his Mangekyo and was going to control the Nine-Tails. But that can't happen here because they're not stupid enough to try that with Minato. Because this is the Hokage's kid. And Naruto, generally speaking, has some level of around-the-clock protection. So, even if he's home alone, Naruto, they're not stupid enough to think that Naruto doesn't have a seal, like a Flying Thunder God kunai on him, to just get his father to show up. So they know that can't happen, and they also are very much aware that the Flying Thunder God technique, the Flying Thunder God technique, Minato, just with that technique alone, even with their Sharingan, is going to um, is not going to be enough to stop Minato with that technique. Now, I do think like the talks on the massacre are still going to happen, and that it gets word to people like Kakashi, like Danzo, like all of them. Danzo does still exist, but he keeps Root under with Minato in charge. He keeps Root under such lock and freaking key, or under such discrepancy that he is not going to be able to there's little he can do. Like the third before he left or died probably made mention of Danzo. Danzo really keeps to himself at this point and kind of just oversees things from the shadow. Minato's not a fool, but he's also got so many duties as Hokage that he's just not going to be able to keep track of everything. But the idea, the whole word of the massacre gets out, and yeah, I think Minato basically asks Fukasu to come to the Hokage's office. He asks him to meet him, and Lord Hokage, what can I do for you? Fukasu, thank you for showing up, and he activates some suppression or silencer seals that basically keep it a quiet establishment, a quiet place. No one can hear what's going in or hear what's coming out. It's the same thing basically. So Minato confronts him. It's like, look, are you and your clan happy, Fukasu? I'm curious. And you got your two boys there, and I imagine Itachi's the one who also maybe showed up and brought this to his attention. And so if that's true, then I'm gonna be blunt with you. Are you planning a coup d'état? Into which Fukasu just is a little surprised by the questions. I don't understand. Why would I say the rumors are circulating? And while I don't like Danzo, I can't lie that he is good information gathering. And added on to the fact that your son Itachi came to me a little bit, and which that's when Fukasu just the change on his face, the change in look on his face just is immediate. Just I see. And I was like, why? Why would you do this? Why would you threaten everything in the village for power? What would you possibly gain from this? It's like, man, Fukasu basically just explains how the clan has basically been set aside. We've been nothing but we've been treated like second class beyond what we used to be. Our clan used to be one of the strongest, most prestigious in the village. Now we're just second-rate citizens. We're laughed at because we control the police. We can be made fun of. We want some level of respect back in this village. We want some level of power and authority back. And Minato is looking at him, just like, and it's all line that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's like Fukasu, I can understand, believe it or not, I can understand some level of what you're saying. My son goes through that a bit more than what you may think. But I can't allow you to hurt anyone. If you go, I don't want this to happen. So if you go through, so we can sit here and talk and try to work something out. But if you go through with it, I won't stop you from going home and telling your clan we're going through with it. But if you go through with it, I will not hesitate to do my job as the Hokage and protect the village no matter what. So, and he just leans on, just like so, and just puts his hands down, just looks straight in Fukasu's face. And Fukasu's not dumb. He knows that in a straight fight, no one, not even Itachi. Itachi might be the closest. With the Mangekyo, he would have been the closest. But no one in the village, except maybe Guy in terms of straight speed when he's like going all out, could take on Minato one-on-one, let alone in large groups. And so Fukasu, what are we going to do? And Fukasu just looks at him. He looks at him. and seeing as we're at the 35-minute mark, that's where we're going to end the what if. I'm ending it cliffhangers, baby, cliffhangers. I dilly-dallied a little bit in the middle there, where I kind of like spaced out just a bit. So yeah, I'm gonna end it right there for right now. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Hit that bell if you want to be notified. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.